Hello, bonjour, namaste, ni hao, and ohio, everybody. What is going on? It is Galeriot here. Welcome back to the YouTube channel once again for another Danmachi video. And this is a video I wasn't expecting to make anytime soon. I knew I was going to make this video inevitably, and we'll go on to talk about that in just a moment, but I wasn't expecting to make this video right now. In fact, I was actually in my bed for the last 15-20 minutes, to be quite honest, and then I came across this image in Discord, which basically says that Danmachi Cross Istoria is coming to an end. Yes, they have finally announced their end of service, and I say finally because in all honesty it was kind of due. They were stretching the game a little bit thin, especially when I played the game for a little bit, which you can go and check out my video on when I played Danmachi Cross Istoria. I noticed that the game felt a little empty, in all honesty, and it felt like it was being stretched a bit thin, to be quite honest, when I looked into it a little bit more after the video. But I still wasn't expecting it to be this soon. Now, of course, if you guys didn't watch my video earlier on today where we spoke about this announcement, where we're going to be getting a new Danmachi game that is not Danmachi Battle Chronicle, by the way. This is a completely different game. It is going to be developed by Neowiz and Gree Entertainment. If you want to check out more details on what I think about it and what I came up to in terms of conclusions and stuff, you can go and check out that video. I dropped it earlier today, but I also said in that video that I was expecting a couple of things to happen, right? Because one of the things that you have to remember, and I guess it turns out I was right all along, to be quite honest. In that video, I was completely right on what I said, and that is these IPs, these anime IPs rarely have more than 3 gacha games. Even to be quite honest, it's rare for some gacha games to even have more than two games alive at the same time. It's very, very rare for these IPs to have more than 2 gacha games, to be quite honest. So it turns out I was right, and it does seem like, Danmachi Cross Istoria is definitely the first one to be on the chopping block. And it makes sense, to be quite honest. It makes sense as to why Danmachi Cross Istoria is on the chopping block. Like I said, it's stretched a bit thin, but along with that, it is also a Japanese-only title, and it is obviously a browser game. It is way in the past when it comes to technological advancements and development, right? If you look at the game compared to like modern day games, heck, if you even compare that game to Danmachi Memoria Freese, obviously Memoria Freese is much higher in terms of quality with the special arts, the artwork I would obviously give to Cross Istoria. I think the Cross Istoria developers did a brilliant job when it came to the artwork of that game, but generally the stories and stuff like that, Danmemo has a much bigger advantage over Danmachi Cross Istoria, not to mention the fact that it is also a global gacha game, right? So it's not a surprise necessarily that Danmachi Cross Istoria is the first on the chopping block. What does surprise me, in all honesty, is the fact that it's so soon. I genuinely was not expecting it to be this soon, to be quite honest. I was expecting probably a couple of months, maybe even a year, to be quite honest. I was expecting this game, Danmachi Cross Istoria that is, to shut down maybe, right before the new game comes out. And not Battle Chronicle, but the new game by Neowiz and Gree Entertainment. That's when I thought it was going to shut down, probably. I wasn't expecting it to be so soon. Danmachi Battle Chronicle isn't even out yet. Mind you, Danmachi Battle Chronicle's beta test is literally next week. We still don't know the official release date of that game, to be quite honest. So it is a little bit of a surprise that it is this soon. And when I say soon, it is really, really soon. So if we go over to the translations, right? The first thing I want to look at is, of course, when the scheduling is for when it's going to shut down and everything. So the first thing that they mention is that on the 29th of March, you will no longer be able to make any sort of purchases in the game. So if you want to make any purchases for some reason, just for a little bit of nostalgia, a little bit of summons and stuff like that, on the 29th of March you can. However, I do believe that they will give out a lot of free resources towards the end of its service, to be quite honest, because this is what a lot of recent gacha games have been doing. Whenever a gacha game shuts down, a lot of these games just give players a lot of resources to go just have fun, summon on whatever you want, and get whatever you want, right? Have fun with the units in the game because we're going to be shutting down, basically, right? It's something that a lot of these gacha games do. And then on the 28th of April is when the game will officially shut down. So basically a month between, them stopping purchases from happening in the game and from the game officially shutting down, basically. So you'll have a month. They'll probably give a bunch of resources in between that. So if you want to play the game, feel free to. I have a video on how you can download the game and how you can play the game and stuff like that. I might make a video right before the service ends, in all honesty, so be sure to check that out, of course. But yeah, like I said, I'm not too surprised as to it shutting down, but I am very, very surprised that it is, well, shutting down so soon, in all honesty. I really am. So of course they go on to talk about, they were happy with the ability to be able to provide everybody with this sort of game, and they expressed their immense gratitude, the fact that there were so many players playing the game and everything, and they would like to express their sincere appreciation for their support and the player base, basically. It's just very, very nice. It's the usual end of service letter. I'm very, very happy with the fact the way they've stated it and everything, but again, it's very, very much a similar sort of letter as compared to every other gacha game's end of service. So I'm not gonna give them too much props, but I will say it's kind of nice to always get this sort of letter, especially as the game approaches its end. The one thing that I noticed, right, at the very bottom, they also say, Danmachi series, we're also developing other games in the Danmachi series. For details, please check from the banner below. Please continue to enjoy the Danmachi series, basically. So of course, they have to kind of promote the new gacha games coming out. Of course, Danmemo is there. You've got Danmachi Battle Chronicle coming out soon, and then of course the new Danmachi game by NeoWiz and Gree Entertainment, which I expect to be due sometime next year, to be quite honest. Yeah, like I said, this is a very, very big shock to me in terms of the fact that how soon it was, but it's not really that much of a surprise. I'd like to reiterate, when you compare it to other gacha games that have existed in the past, other anime IPs that have had gacha games in the past, it is very, very, very rare for an anime IP to have more than 3 gacha games. And it's one of the reasons why I'm still on the fence when it comes to Danmemo, to be quite honest, right? Because one of the factors is that Danmemo is being published and developed by WFS, whose parent company is also Gree Entertainment. Who's helping NeoWiz with the development of the new gacha game? Gree Entertainment. So if they don't feel like they're getting much benefits from having Danmemo and maybe switching to a new game that is newly developed, new engine, everything from if everything is made from scratch and they can do a better job there, they will probably axe Danmemo. I mean, it's not impossible. However, I would like to say this, and somebody made a good point in one of the comments of today's video, which I will be going through, by the way, in a future video. I want to actually go through the community reactions of this video as well as that video and see what everybody has to say. But one person made a very good point that usually whenever it's those other anime IPs like Sword Art Online, Dragon Ball, as well as if you take a look at potentially Naruto as well and stuff like that, they're all published and developed by very similar companies. In this situation, Bandai Namco, right? Bandai's mobile division is the one that usually publishes all of these gacha games, so it kind of makes sense for them to switch in and out of different gacha games because they don't want to keep recurring costs going on within the same company. Whereas in this situation, right, you have Danmemo being developed and published exclusively by Gree Entertainment and WFS, of course, right? Both same organization. WFS is like a subsidiary, basically. Then you have, of course, the new Danmachi Battle Chronicle game that is coming out very soon. That is being developed and published by Aiming Inc. alongside K-Lab. And then, of course, you have the new Danmachi game, which is being co-developed with Gree Entertainment, but the main developer and publisher are NeoWiz. So you have these 3 gacha games that are being developed and published by very different people outside of the NeoWiz one and Danmemo, of course, right? There are some similarities there because of Gree Entertainment, but otherwise they're all very different. So in that regards, there is a very good chance that Danmemo still survives and that Danmachi Cross Istoria is only shutting down because of the fact that it's very, very old. Its 8th anniversary was due this December actually as well. It just crossed its 7th anniversary recently, so it kind of makes sense that they were going to finally shut it down because there was no point in keeping it alive because it was technologically outclassed. It was Japan only as well, which obviously is a much, well, it's a big audience for sure, right? I'd say the Japanese audience for any gacha game is way bigger than the global audience, to be quite honest. You look at any game, that's always the case. but in terms of the fact that it was limited by the fact that it was Japan only, you could be getting way more money if it was also throwing in a lot from the global side, of course, right? And just generally the fact that there's these 3 gacha games coming in, and like I mentioned in my earlier video, you do not want to spread your audience too thin. If you spread your audience too thin, you're going to be losing out on profits from all of your gacha games, right? Because let's be real, the average Danmachi fan, the average hardcore Danmachi fan, I should say, will probably play all 4. But even me, who's a hardcore Danmachi fan, to be quite honest, I would probably just pick up Cross Istoria and play a little bit and then close it, to be quite honest. I would focus more so on the 3 new gacha games, and if I had obviously the finances to spend consistently on these games, I would probably focus on spending on the new games, to be quite honest. I would even forget about Danmemo, to be quite honest, purely because it's an older title. We don't know when it'll shut down, so people would be a little bit more hesitant to spend on those games, whereas on the new games, you'd be more than willing to spend on them. So that sort of situation happens where you're losing out on money on the older gacha games because, well, they're old, and you have these new gacha games that are obviously doing extremely well, so you're gonna spend on them. So yeah, there are all of these points and topics. Let me know what you guys think down below in the comments. I'm very curious to see what you guys have to say. Of course, if you guys enjoyed this video, please be sure to leave a like down below, subscribe to the channel. I will definitely be doing a community reaction to both Cross Istoria shutting down as well as the new Danmachi game. So please leave your thoughts down below in the comments. They will become one video basically now that we have this information. So yeah, like I said, leave your comments down below and your thoughts, and I will see you guys in the next video. Take it easy, everybody. Bye-bye.